former President Jacob Zuma has been granted medical parole, but he remains in hospital. The Department of Correctional Services says it received his medical report from the Military Health Services. The former statesman's health has been a subject of debate since he failed to appear in court last month. Now, his legal team argued that Zuma was unfit to stand trial, adding that he had been hospitalized. Now, he has since been receiving treatment for an undisclosed illness. Right, let's get reaction now and speak to the Jacob Zuma Foundation spokesperson, Mr. Mzwanele Manyi, who joins us now. Mr. Manyi, thank you very much for your time. Reaction on this decision by the Correctional Services Department. Mr. Manyi, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, yes. Can you hear me?
There we go, yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Xoli speaking this side. Are you able to give us exactly your reaction as the foundation regarding this decision of the Department of Correctional Services as per the former president being placed on medical parole? In fact, Mr. Manyi, are you able to take us into your confidence as to what exactly ails the former president?
Yeah, look, first let me greet you, Xoli, and the listeners of the Newzroom. Two things. One, the foundation welcomes this news. It's a welcome development. It's an indication that...
I think the sound to Mr. Manyi is lost. Are you able? All right, I lost you there for a moment, Mr. Manyi. I think if you could just start from the beginning.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, indeed. The line is clearer now.
Yeah, no, I'm saying the foundation welcomes this development. It's a very good thing. It just shows that there is some humaneness in the system. But on the other hand, I think it also indicates the state of the precariousness state of President Zuma's health, that in fact this decision has been taken because this decision is a product of two teams of doctors, the military hospital doctors and the correctional services doctors. So indeed, even this second opinion that people have been on about has actually has been a result. This decision has been a result of two teams of doctors that have come to a conclusion that he qualifies for medical parole.
Yeah. Are you able to tell us whether the former president is terminally ill? Because unless I am less educated on this, and we're obviously going to get clarity from the correctional services, this is something that is granted to people who possibly are suffering from some terminal disease.
Yeah, look, I think the medical report as things stand right now hasn't been made public. We don't know that. So the correctional services will probably be best placed to answer that nitty-gritty because the doctors also came from correctional services, as it were. And as we see it now, the lawyers of His Excellency President Zuma are going through the report, are going through the statement, and trying to also make sense of what all this means. Yeah. But the direct answer to your question is, as we speak here now, I don't have a clear answer.
All right, let's try and see if we can also get more voices on this. Mr. Manyi, if you don't mind just holding for a second there, let's try and speak now to Mpumelelo Zikalala. And Mpumelelo Zikalala is a legal analyst. Hopefully he will be able to hear me. Mr. Zikalala, Xoli speaking here. Are you able to hear us? All right, Mpumelelo Zikalala not yet on the line. Let's see if we can continue with you, Mr. Manyi. How do you respond to those cynics who are going to say, well, this is the abuse of the criminal justice once again, because people are going to make reference to Shabir Sheikh, who was placed on medical parole, and at the time, the country was told that he was facing a terminal illness. As we know it today, Mr. Sheikh continues to roam the streets of South Africa. How do you respond to those who are going to say exactly that?
Yeah, no, look, I think it doesn't matter what happens. People will always speak. Whether something is good or bad, people will always speak. So if you run your life based on what people say, you will get nowhere. What is important here is that no shortcuts were taken. This is a thorough process that had been undergone. And these are people that have put their professions on the line in making this kind of a decision. It must have been a very difficult decision. Must have been lots of considerations that have been put into place. And so when medical people are making their decisions, it's less about what other people think, and the gossip column will always continue. And so it really would not bother us. People can really say anything they want to say. It's not going to change the fact that medically trained people have arrived at a determination, and we accept the outcome that they've come up with.
Yeah. All right. Mpumelelo Zigalala, finally on the line. He is a legal analyst. Mr. Zigalala, how do you see this one?
You must remember that being let out on parole is actually a process that is automatically done. So the Correctional Services Act details how this process should go. And once a person has served a certain amount of time, which is 1/3 or 1/6 of their sentence, then they're eligible to be assessed whether they should be let on parole or not. Let's remember, the process of changing the character or the conduct of an inmate is to make sure that at the end of the day it is corrected. If they have served their time, have attended the appropriate courses within the Correctional Services Center, and it is seen that they're eligible to come out as a new or a better person, then that person is eligible. However, in this case, the medical instances of the status of the former president must have been taken into consideration, and they've said it is much better that you go and you heal outside, and you make sure that we provide a much better state of facility, being within the care of your family, being able to be visited by your doctors without any restrictions, so that at the end of the day you are able to preserve your life.
Yeah. Mr. Zigalala, you are a legal expert here, and you probably will be au fait with these processes. The question I asked Mr. Manyi a little earlier was, this is something that, as I understood it, was reserved for people who are suffering from a terminal illness, and therefore they are placed on medical parole so that they do not succumb to the illness whilst within the prison walls. Is that your understanding as well?
If the medical parole or the parole of an inmate is solely based on the medical instances, then the answer is yes. But you must also remember, we do not know the details of the medical report of the former president. And I would trust that the medical parole board would have the appropriate skills and experience to make sure that they're able to look into this matter and then come back and say, we have assessed the medical reports as received. We are of the opinion that in terms of the yardsticks that we use, this person is sick. This person cannot be sort of rehabilitated at any part of stage, and we want to make sure that he's able to heal at home with the appropriate experienced doctors and the health care that he requires. So this particular parole, yes, it is provided to people, let's say on their last days or closer to meeting their creator. However, there's a yardstick that is used, and I think the medical parole board use the appropriate instances to make sure that they come to that particular decision. But added to that, let's remember, the time in which the former president has spent in jail since his incarceration has made it probable or make it easier for him to be let out on parole. Let's remember, once a person has been sentenced, the instance of going to a correctional services center is for his conduct or their conduct to change. And if it has been proved that it has changed, it has come out, it comes out as a much better person, then the medical parole would say, let us let you go.
Mr. Zigalala, perhaps as I conclude our conversation, I'm going to bring in Mr. Manyi in a moment. If you are released on medical parole, I asked this question of the Deputy Minister, and I must admit, I did struggle a bit to understand exactly what he was saying. If you're placed on medical parole, and unfortunately for the former president, he still has pending cases against him, but now a decision is taken on a separate matter that he be placed on medical parole, which means that he can't be imprisoned. If found guilty on other matters, can he still be sent to jail, or will the medical parole that is granted to him now be the one tool he uses which basically keeps him out of jail, if you like?
Let's separate the two processes. Let's separate the court of being asked to answer on the merits of your matter, are you guilty or not? Now, he'd help to attend that. But before he does that, the Criminal Procedure Act describes or prescribes how a person is fit to be able to attend a particular trial. So that would be the first assessment in which you'll have to go to, in terms of saying, are you fit to be able to comprehend the correctness and the nature of the proceedings in which we're handling here? If the answer to that is yes, then you attend the trial and then you are found guilty. Then we deal with the nature of punishment based on what you've been assessed on. Only then on the punishment side, when you move over to the correctional services side or the correctional department side, that's when we say, let us look at your history. If we assess you now on fresh charges, can you then say that you are still eligible for parole? If the conditions are still there, you still have that particular medical issue that you had earlier, you still are terminally ill, then the chances of you being let out on medical parole again are great, and you can be able to be let out on medical parole.
Mr. Manyi, let's wrap up the conversation then. You will know that the health status of the former president has been the subject of debate in the past few days as a result of his refusal to be examined by, I guess, medical practitioners that would have been appointed by the NPA. Simple question to you: why should members of the public trust in this particular system, given the kind of explanation that has been there for someone like Schabir Shaik, for example, who still roams the streets of South Africa, and yet he was classified as being terminally ill and therefore placed on medical parole?
Yeah, look, I think what South Africa should embrace is that what has happened now is that we've got, just like I said before, we've got two teams of medical doctors, the ones from correctional services and the ones from SA military. Both these doctors have got no silly agendas that we don't know anything about and all of that. These are people that would have also gone through a whole range of vetting the foundation wouldn't be terrible as it were, because these are people whose day-to-day job is to do this. Would have, of course, and I think it's important that you must understand that the right to be examined by any board and all of that cannot happen without you exercising your consent, as it were. So if President Zuma indeed refused to be examined by any other person, he was exercising his right, Section 12 of the Constitution. And this is our problem in South Africa. This is our problem in the President Zuma camp, that when President Zuma is concerned, everything that has got to do with his rights is shortchanged, and people just think that they're doing him a favor. So if he refused, absolutely nothing wrong with that refusal, because he would have exercised his right firstly. Secondly, it would have been even premature for the NPA to be doing all of those second opinions and all of that, because they still needed to go to the court and express their attitude on the report that would have been given. So to be hearing this kind of gossip that behind the scenes they were trying to fiddle with President Zuma, that on its own is actually out of order, because they should have gone to the court first, expressed their opinion, then a court takes a decision, because they needed to answer the question, is it necessary? Part of that order said two things. It was in two parts. One said the medical report must be submitted, and it then also said then and then it said that the doctor must also come and maybe give the account and all of that. And all of that was bound by two words, if necessary. So we're saying, if necessary was not answered. Was it necessary for the doctor to come and approach the court? It's not clear. Well, was it necessary for the second opinion? Was still not answered. So it would have been premature without that account of the doctor without NPA punching holes into the medical report that they would have got. So for them, before those processes to have gone behind the scenes to try and examine President Zuma, it's actually premature. They had to wait for the court.
Mr. Manyi?
So absolutely nothing wrong that President Zuma has done to date.
Yeah, look, Mr. Manyi, the disagreement here is, I guess, as a result of the lawyers of the former president agreeing in court that the NPA would be given a chance, if they so needed, to examine the former president using their own medical experts. But perhaps we're going to quibble on this for time. Let me just ask this final question to you. The whereabouts of the former president, are you aware where he is right now?
Let's kill what you just said just now. It's important that indeed the lawyers agreed, and there's no issue about them having agreed and whatever. And the time for that medical had not come. This is the issue. The time had not come because that agreement was based on second opinion. But if you have not expressed your attitude, even on the first opinion, the second opinion does not arise.
All right.
Because we have not expressed your attitude on the first opinion.
All right.
So your second question.
Mr. Manyi, are you still there?
In the hospital.
Mr. Manyi. All right.
Well,
Mzwanele Manyi, looks like we have lost you there. Mr. Manyi, let's just get the proper response in. You have broken up in the last few seconds. The whereabouts of the former president.
Okay. Now saying, no, sorry, calls coming through here. Sorry about that.
Sure.
President Zuma is to speak here now. He's still at the hospital, still being observed and all of that. This decision does not mean tonight he sleeps at home. Right. It means he must be observed, and doctors must make a call that he can now move home and all of that. So waiting to hear a final report from the doctors.
Thank you very much for your time. Mzwanele Manyi speaks for the Jacob Zuma Foundation. Alongside him is legal expert Mpumelelo Zikalala, giving us his thoughts legally on what has gone on here. Hopefully